Hello and welcome to the Federal. We have been doing a series of special interviews to mark the centenary year of the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh or the RSS. In this, we have been actually interviewing very eminent academics who have specialized on research and writing about the RSS and its activities. Very recently, viewers would remember that there was a ceremony in Ayodhya in which Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the chief of the Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh or the Satsang Chalak, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, they hoisted a saffron flag called the Bhagwa, called the Dharm Dhwaj, was hoisted by them. Mr. Modi, in his speech after the ceremony, said that this would be the last ceremony associated with the Ram Mandir. In a way, this may not be the last ceremony, but nonetheless, it actually brings curtains on a 4 decade long agitation and struggle for building a Ram temple after demolishing the Babri Masjid, which stood there at the site where the new temple has now come up. Now, in this entire course of the agitation, which started in the 80s, the biggest uh, role was played right through the 80s and the early 90s till the time of the demolition of the Babri Masjid by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, an organization about which not much was known till that particular time, till it actually started espousing the Ram temple and other issues which eventually led to a rise of Hindu consciousness in the country. So we will be talking about the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, its role in the rise and the growth of the RSS and its affiliates, which includes the Bharatiya Janata Party and, of course, various other organizations, which are quite a handful, and a conservative estimate that more than 40 organizations are affiliated in virtually every walk of life in India. So I am turning to today to Professor Manjari Katju, who is a very noted scholar of Hindutva politics. She is the professor and head of the Department of Political Science at the University of Hyderabad. The School of Social Sciences there. And more importantly than the positions that she is holding, she is also called or rather considered to be the foremost scholar or the chronicler of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. She wrote a very detailed and analytically in-depth book on the Vishwa Hindu Parishad titled Vishwa Hindu Parishad and Indian Politics. That book has had several editions, and the last one, of course, came out about a decade or a decade and a half earlier. We will be talking about you. So, thank you, Professor Manjari Katju, for joining us on this program and taking our special series RSS at 100 one more step ahead by understanding a very important facet of the rise of the BJP and, of course, Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India. Welcome to this program, Manjari Katju.
Thanks so much, Nilanjan, and I'm happy to be here on the next episode of the Federal. And of course, it's the centenary of the RSS and a very appropriate time to talk about
That's right.
Hindutva politics and, of course, the VHP as well. So I'm ready for your questions. I'm in fact
Yes.
very happy to be here
You,
in conversation with you and to talk about the VHP. Um, so, I mean, if you want
you
me to
know,
start, and one more before I
my
start,
yeah,
I'm
yes.
no longer the head of the Department of Political
Okay.
Science department at
I,
HCU. I was some
okay.
years
Okay.
ago, but my term was over,
I very
so
hurriedly
I'm
checked
just a
up in the
professor.
University
No,
of
never mind,
Hyderabad.
never mind.
That is it. They haven't yet
Uh,
made the change, so I was kind of misled. Anyway, so my question, Manjari Kaju, is that would you agree with what I said in the introduction of the program that it was the Vishwa Hindu Parishad which the way it actually waged the Ram Temple agitation through the 80s and early 90s,
yeah.
that has been the primary propellant force for the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the BJP, and of course from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be where he is today.
Yeah, yeah. Nilanjan, absolutely. I'll agree with you that the way the Ram Janmabhoomi movement came up and the commitment and the full effort with which the VHP took it forward, making it not only a movement which was confined to Ayodhya or UP, Uttar Pradesh, but taking it to the entire North India and also
Mm.
crisscrossing the country, taking it to all corners of the country. I think it did um, in a very, very strong, major way, built up or, in fact, contributed in a big way to build the support base of the BJP. um, I mean, I should also say this. Like we just talk about the BJP, but if we take the VHP as well, the whole Ram Janmabhoomi movement uh, gave a lot of traction to the VHP itself, which
That's
was
right.
a hardly known organization. When the VHP took it up in 1984, before that, people hardly knew about the VHP. It was a organization which was known very little. It had no popular base. People didn't know about it. It's only in closed Hindutva quarters, Hindu nationalist quarters, did people know about it, the membership of the RSS or the Jansangh or the BJP. But it hadn't become a popular organization. So I would say that, of course, what you say about giving building the base for the BJP, taking the BJP and the Hindu nationalist politics itself to such great heights. The Ram Janmabhoomi, the way the VHP sort of took it up and popularized it and built mobilizations around it, it helped the VHP itself. It helped the VHP build its public persona. In fact, at one stage, if we come to the early 1990s, VHP and Ram Janmabhoomi had become like synonyms. I mean, if
Synonyms.
one talked about the Ram Janmabhoomi, one would sort of immediately associate it with the VHP rather than any other organization. Not the RSS, not the BJP, but the VHP. And when one talked about the VHP, the first thing which came to mind was the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. So it's for the entire, I would say, not only the BJP. Of course, BJP electorally gained a lot, but the entire Hindu nationalist movement, which later came to be known popularly as Hindutva, that base countrywide was built by the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, and of course the VHP, because VHP was the one which built the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. So in the entire Hindu nationalist ideological and political program, the place of the Ram Janmabhoomi movement is sort of central. And because of that, VHP was an organization which took it up in a big way and sort of build the popular electoral base of the BJP and the ideological popularity of the Hindu nationalist movement.
Right. There is something which was quite striking. You said that from 1984, that's a time when actually very little was known about the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, that time when just before
Yeah.
Indira Gandhi was assassinated, a few weeks prior to that, they actually
Yes.
launched the first public agitation on the Ram temple. And
Yes.
but importantly, by that time, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the VHP, had been in existence for 2 decades.
Yes.
We need to understand that was the intention to start of the RSS leadership to start the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. What was the basic intention? It obviously was not to wage public agitations in the country, because even after that, there was that brief period, where there was an anti-cow slaughter agitation. The Vishwa Hindu Parishad may have been involved with that, but somehow or the other, it did not really continue for long. And we hear very little of VHP right through this 1970, the turbulent period, the anti-emergency struggle, the turbulence during the Janata Party regime. That is the time when the Vishwantu Parishad slowly starts getting revived or resurrected. That is what we actually see. So I would like to understand from you that what was the basic intention of the RSS leadership to establish the VHP in the first place.
We need to look at the early years of the VHP, the
Yes.
first 2 decades, like mainly the 60s and the 70s. This massive change which comes about in 83, 84 in the VHP. VHP was actually visualized as a quiet organization. It was not
Hmm.
visualized as an activist organization. There was this need felt within the RSS that there should be a broad front, a broad Hindu front, which is able to mobilize, which is able to take the message of the RSS to a larger, populace, larger constituency. Because if we look at the RSS itself, it called itself a cultural organization. And when Golwalkar was the Guru Golwalkar was the Sarsanchalak,
Hmm.
the whole tendency was that the RSS should be a quiet organization. It should not be an activist. They should work on the sidelines and do character building and
Hmm.
volunteer building and all. So for the VHP was visualized as an organization to bring in people, to bring in membership, which the RSS couldn't bring at that point of time. Also because RSS was discredited in a big way after the assassination of Mahatma
Yes.
Gandhi, and the Hindu Mahasabha was discredited, the RSS was discredited. People didn't want to associate with openly with the RSS.
That's right.
And RSS was also, as I said, very male oriented, only male membership. Women couldn't be
Hmm.
members, etc., etc. Though they had opened a women's wing as well, Rashtra Sevika Samiti, but still,
Civic Assembly.
RSS on its own could not sort of reach out because people were not ready to associate with it because of all what had happened just in the that contemporary history and contemporary past. So they felt that let's rope in the sadhus and the sons, the political leadership, from within the larger Congress, which was right wing, which viewed RSS sympathetically, but wouldn't openly associate with the RSS at that
Hmm.
point of time. But there was also this whole thing, this whole reason about the formation of Nagaland in 1963, the Punjabi
Hmm.
Suba demand, which was happening at that point of time, which had gained strength. That there should be Punjab, a different state within the Indian Union, which should be sort of for the Punjabi speaking people, for the Sikhs,
Right.
etc. And of course, we shouldn't forget the partition. The partition backdrop was also there, and the Hindu Mahasabha, the RSS politics and RSS functioning at that point was also, not seeing eye to eye with the Congress on a lot of things, both politically, which is non-electorally, and politically, electorally as well. A lot of thinking went on within the RSS on this. And they were able to rope in, they were able to bring in the religious leaders, lot of sons and sadhus of various, monastic orders and akhadas. I mean, Jain leadership, the Sikh leadership. Master Tara Singh was also in the first conference which
Hmm.
happened in Bombay. And sort of sadhus, or like sons like Swami Chinmayanand, who
Hmm.
was who's was a he was a big figure at that point of time,
Yes.
giving discourses on Hindu shastric texts in English, not in Hindi but in English. And he was also the one who sort of contributed in a big way to this idea that we have to have an organization which should revive the heritage, the culture, the Hindu values, which they all felt, the RSS and some of these leaders felt that they're fading away. That both in the diaspora, and this is my second point, the
Yes.
VHP was floated, and basically the aim was to see to it that the diaspora, the Hindu diaspora abroad, and the tribal population, the thinking in these organizations, in the RSS, Chinman and other sons and sadhus, was that these people are drifting away from Hinduism,
Hmm.
that the Hindu cultural values are dying, and Hindus are contributing everywhere to industry, to technology, to innovative ideas, but their
Right.
own cultural values are fading away. So we have to revive. And we have to remember the political backdrop. Here we have Nagaland, which is and the RSS
Agitation going
interpretation
on
was
there.
that
Yeah.
the Christians, yes, the Christians, they are sort of
Hmm.
agitating for their own state. There might be secession. Then in Punjab, again, Sikhism, which sort of, it's not like, though they claim that Sikhism should be its one part, or, one part of Hinduism. But, so Sikhs were saying, no, we want our own Suba, we want our own
Right.
state. So this was the backdrop. And the RSS couldn't mobilize on its own platform. So it needed a broad front, and they also felt if sadhus and sons
Yeah.
legitimate their message, if the message is coming from the sadhus and sons, there would be more receptivity within the Hindu population in India
No,
and abroad.
yeah, I
So,
just want to understand one thing. Prior to the Vishwa Hindu Parishad uh, demanding and or rather launching the agitation for the Ram temple in Ayodhya, was this event in
yeah,
1983 called the Ekatmata Yagya, where they carried water from
yes,
various parts of the country,
yeah,
congregated at Nagpur, then went their different ways.
yes,
That was
yes,
actually created quite a big stir in 1983, because that is the time when turbulence is beginning to become quite evident in Punjab. There have been several
yeah,
assassinations. There is
yes.
a Hindu Sikh divide. Things are also becoming slightly problematic for the first time in Jammu and Kashmir. So in that backdrop, they take out the Ekatmata Yagya. What purpose did it actually serve to create the sense of Hinduness in the country?
I mean, this yatra was the first. Of course, 1966 cow agitation was the
Yes, of
one which was, on a small level, a mass
yeah.
activism. VHP sort of forayed into
Yes,
that. 1983, the Yatras was the first time that a countrywide agitation was planned. And there were these three major
right.
yatras, and it was done in November, December 1983.
That's right.
There were three major yatras, and there were several smaller yatras. And you're right, Ganga Jal bottles of 50 cc were
Yes,
distributed to
yes, yes,
everybody.
everywhere.
I mean, wherever the yatras went. And we have to understand the backdrop there itself. As you said, rightly said, and I want to emphasize that point. Militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, in Punjab, Assam was in a big turmoil at
Assam,
that point of
Assam, yes.
time. The
I
Assam
forgot about Assam.
agitation,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Nelly
So,
massacre had
yeah, so
already
Assam
happened
was
by the
also,
time, I think.
exactly in 1983, Nelly massacre had happened. I mean, and Assam
Hmm.
agitation was also, we didn't know which way it's going, and sort of what's
Yes.
happening there, and big turmoil. In this backdrop, they felt that this message of Hindu unity through a mass program is
Hmm.
important, that they have to take this message of Hindu unity, have to take it forward, and see to it that there is some sort of a convergence on the Hindu unity idea. And
Hmm.
they had much success. And one more thing I want to point out here, that women came out in big numbers, which encouraged the VHP to float later on its own women's organizations, and also mobilize women in a big way for its programs. And it
Hmm.
did receive a lot of success in that. And when it saw the 1983 Yatra program has become so successful, in 1984 it openly, launched the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. This organization is being floated to counter three alien ideologies. And these
Hmm.
ideologies were communism, Christianity, and Islam.
Hmm.
Islam because of the partition, Christianity because of the creation of Nagaland, and communism because in the first few elections, the Communist Party, the Socialist Party, the Praja Socialist parties, they were doing very well. In fact, they were
Hmm.
second only to the Congress. And the Hindu
Right.
Mahasabha and the Bharatiya Jan Sangh, they came way behind.
That's
So
right.
that was, that's why these three become the alien ideologies, against whom
And
the
it was
Hindu
also
unity
spelt
was.
out by Golwalkar in his writings. In Bunch of
Yes,
Thoughts, there was that
yes,
entire article which talk about the danger from communism, Islam, and Christianity.
yes,
So
yes, yes.
So,
So
so
that was
that,
there.
that
Yes,
that that was that was there. Now, if we move ahead, we find that after the initial launch of the yatras, for the Ram Temple, Indira Gandhi gets assassinated, and everything goes into the backdrop. And they wait till the time
yeah,
that there is a springboard in the form of the Rajiv Gandhi governments of going back and actually nullifying the Supreme Court judgment on the Shah Bano case. To what extent do you think the Shah Bano case actually provided the Vishwa Hindu Parishad with a golden opportunity to revive and give a great push to the Ram temple issue.
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand that the opening of the locks. I mean, there was
Hmm.
a by the Gandhi government, opening of the locks in Ayodhya, the Ram temple site. I mean, it sort of there was a barrage of criticism. He received
Right.
a lot of yes, flack on that from the secular, so-called secular opinion, the left opinion, and the people generally who felt that he's not going the right way. And then comes the Shah Bano judgment, and the whole sort of going back on it by the Rajiv Gandhi government. So it sort of, and that in fact made the Sangh Parivar very upset, that why has this been done. But generally the view was that this is sort of pleasing fundamentalisms on both sides,
Both sides. Yeah.
by the government. Yes, that you're pleasing the Muslim fundamentalism on the Shah Bano, and you're appeasing the Hindu fundamentalism on by opening the locks of
Hmm.
the temple, and sort of. So it was seen as a political move, a clever political move on the part of the Rajiv Gandhi government, government itself, the Congress government, that they're trying to appease the fundamentalists on both sides to see to it that Congress party is able to sort of go ahead and win elections and strengthen itself. And
Hmm.
but of course, Shah Bano case, I mean, it was not taken very well, obviously, by the VHP and the Sangh Parivar. I mean, they felt that the Rajiv Gandhi government is going ahead and appeasing Muslims and Muslim
This
fundamentalists.
entire, yes, this word, you use the word appeasing, that is the first time that actually it makes entry in the modern context in the political discourse of India. That the Congress appeases Muslims. That is when it came. That is what started. But after 86, when the lock was opened in February 1986,
Yes.
86 and 1987, we saw, especially in North India, right in North India, in Delhi, Meerut, importantly, there were also some stray riots in Bijnor, Moradabad, various other places. These, and they did not explicitly have the Ayodhya agitation at the other demand for Ram temple at the forefront. But do you think that somewhere or the other, that issue had beginning to start lurking behind, that we want a Ram temple and there's that mosque which needs to be demolished? That, becoming the primary idea and not so much the construction of the Ram temple.
Yeah, it had sort of it's sort of starts coming up at that point of time, and the mid and the I shouldn't say early, but the mid 80s is also a time when the VHP sort of starts this, like launches the Bajrang Dal, its youth wing.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is going to be a young, youth, energetic cadre to take the Ram Janmabhoomi movement forward. From the Bajrang Dal, what will come out is a second rung leadership of the VHP, and the VHP felt that internally we have to now sort of nurture our leaders rather than taking leadership from outside, which is coming from other
Hmm.
communities, the sadhus and sants, and the political leaders like K. Munshi, and other
Yes. Right.
a few political other leaders who were there. But of course, I mean, coming back to your question, that after 1984, when the VHP actually openly takes up the Ram Janmabhoomi issue, it slowly sort of goes on to sort of it sort of moves very in a very linear way towards a demand for construction of the Ram temple there, and that the mosque should be sort of like instead of the mosque, that's a birthplace of Ram, so a temple should come up. Uh, and this sort of it builds up the political circumstances, the political setting which is there in India, and slowly, when we move from the Indira Gandhi is assassinated, then Rajiv Gandhi comes up, and then what is very interesting is that in 1987, 88, the serial Ramayan starts on Doordarshan.
Yes. That plays a big
That
role.
gives a big flip to the VHP and the Ram movement. Uh, And they say that the Ramayana serial, it went on for 1 year or something like that, from 87 to 88, and it popularized the whole Ram Janmabhoomi movement, and came as a boost to the VHP activities. So they also sort of got a lot of strength from the serial and the popularity of the serial, to strengthen their demands on
Hmm.
the Ram Janmabhoomi and the Ram temple. And then like then it's very interesting that after this they immediately launched the Shilanyas program, the
Yes,
Shila Pujans, the collecting of the
before
Shilas.
moving to 89, can I just interrupt you
Yeah.
and ask you a question, which comes out from my reporting years, during that time, 1980s onwards, when we are beginning to first start reporting the Ayodhya agitation. One thing which struck us was that the Vishwa Hindu Parishad was involving a large number of Hindu religious leaders, but they were leaving out the big ones, never really been able to understand the logic of leaving out the Shankaracharyas, which eventually, became a major problem for the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and the RSS, because the Shankaracharya, even now, they issue quite periodically critical statements about the various things which is done by the RSS or on the Ram temple. We saw that for the consecration ceremony, in January 2024, there were one or two statements which were actually issued by the Shankaracharya. So they started, working with these middle level or even further lower level Babas in various places. There was Devraha Baba in one place. There was various other people, the local Mahants of Ayodhya. They were
Yes.
made given great prominence. So why did they not try to get the big guns, as far as Hindu, the religious clergy was concerned?
My own reading is that they did try to. I mean, they did try to sort of open channels with the big leaders as well, and
Okay.
some of these religious leaders did support them, like the Kachi Kamkoti Pitham
Hmm.
Shankaracharya, Jain Saraswati. I mean, he was very open about it, that he supports the temple
The Ram
program and
temple,
also the
yes. Yeah.
VHP. Yes, yes. So it's not that they didn't get support, and they try to open channels with quite a few of them. But if you see the Ayodhya akhadas as well, the Digambar akhada, akhadas which were very closely associated with the Ram Janmabhoomi, the Digambar akhada, the Nirmohi akhada, the Nirvani akhadas, and
Yes.
I'm forgetting the name, the Panchatal akhadas, the several akhadas. But interestingly, that it's every time the entire akhada wouldn't support the VHP,
Right.
but it had some sort of support in most akhadas. That was there.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
among the Shankaracharyas, one or two supported the VHP on the movement in a big way. We just sort of talked about Kanchi Koti Pitham Shankaracharya.
Hmm.
And there was a vociferous, a very vocal opposition also from a few others.
From few others,
So
yes.
yes. So what I'm trying to say here is that as the movement went forward, I think VHP managed its social posturing, its political positions with this popular support it was getting, that it didn't need much of support of the big
Okay.
names,
It had
because the
actually
popular
started
support
becoming a
itself was so,
mass movement. Yeah.
it had started becoming a mass, especially from the
Movement.
mid 80s. And if you see, like, if you again, if we if we go back to a bit into the past, like 1977, when the
Hmm.
Janta government is there, that time the Jansangh was a big sort of the biggest part of the government. I
Yes.
mean, the maximum
Government.
seats. So that time, it was sort of seen that the VHP had sort of become it had gathered some teeth, and 1970s is also a time when it's the VHP is reviving its tribal organizations. The
Right.
Vanvasi Kalyan Kendra, the Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram in 1977 was
Right.
revived in a big way. Then the Vidya Bharati came up in 1977. That they already had schools, the Saraswati Vidya Mandir schools, but with the coming of Vidya Bharati in a
It
institutionalized
got
way,
given got a
the
got an
VHP
institutional
RSS
push.
school system, yes, yes,
Yeah.
institutional push,
Hmm.
and the school system spread in a big way. and that was because of they being part of the government at that point of time, after the emergency, before the
Yes.
1980, the Janata Party rule, actually. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
One more thing, which we noticed through the 80s is that also the Vishwa Hindu Parishad is widening the social base of what had been the RSS till that time. It started working among various castes, which used to be left out of the RSS outreach. Tribals were of course there, but the RSS did not really go out to the lower castes. The OBCs or the Dalits did not really. I don't remember at least reaching out, but it happened through the vehicle of the Ram Janmabhoomi agitation. And you referred to the
yeah,
Shilanyas, which they got it done by Kameshwar Chaupal, a Dalit leader of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, who was also later on made the member of the trust by the Modi government after the 2019 Supreme Court judgment. So that is also something very significant. Do you think this also enabled, the emergence of the agitation into a mass movement, along with the most innovative campaign of course, the Ramshila Pujan Yatras?
yeah, yeah. Nilanjan, the thing is that if you see the original VHP charter,
Hmm.
it very clearly said that we have to take everybody along. We have to take different
Right.
sects and sampradayas along, whether in India or abroad. We have to free Hindu society from meaningless rites, rituals, customs, caste practices, that we don't support caste, and everybody has to come along, and we have to sort of shun untouchability. So it's all there in the charter,
Okay.
right in the beginning. And but if you see initially, their whole path was the religious path, that we have to counteract Islam and proselytization, Christianity and proselytization. So we have to see to it that that our people don't get converted. And
Hmm.
here, this is the caste question, which was very, very strongly there, that that we have to see to it that our marginalized caste shouldn't go over to Christianity or to Islam. And one incident we have to remember in the VHP timeline is the Meenakshipuram
Of
conversions
course, they were
in
extremely worried about
1981.
that becoming a
Yes, yes,
widespread
and
phenomenon
that
everywhere.
and yes. So if exactly, so if you see the original charter and then 1981, the realization really hits them that they have to do something, that this cannot
Yes.
happen. So we have been saying all along that everybody has to come along. It's Hindu unity. We don't believe in caste. We shun untouchability. But when they see that this happened in a big way, it happened earlier also, but Meenakshipuram became a big news. And it affected them really very, very strongly, that they have to do something, that they have to openly say that they shun caste, they shun untouchability, and actually involve the Dalits in their programs. So Minakshi
Okay.
Puram comes as a turning point.
Yes. Yes. Now, let's try to understand one very important point. In fact, two developments. One is, of course, the government of Vishwanath Pratap Singh announcing the Mandal Commission Awards, that extension of
Yeah,
reservation, 27% reservation for the OBCs. And to counter that, the Yatra taken out by Lal Krishna Advani. Now, how does this,
yeah,
which was popularly given the label of Mandal Kamandal by the popular mainstream media? But to what extent did these two things, essentially Advani's Yatra, we know that Mr. Advani has also written in his autobiography that it was actually in reaction because they were actually losing the entire unity across castes which had emerged through the Ram Temple
yes,
agitation till that
yes,
point. How does it really change the
yeah,
course of the movement?
yeah. It did. You have yourself put it, the course of events, the way they happen, and the Chilanyas happens in end of 1989, and then Advani's Yatra, supporting the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, say, and taking the whole Ram cause in Ayodhya forward. And
To
then
join the Vishwa Hindu Parishad program
of
of
course,
Car Seva
the
on the
Mandal
30th of
Commission,
October.
happens. Yes, Mandal Commission happens in August 1990, and Rath Yatra starts immediately after that. And then there's, we know what happened, and The yatra is sort of stopped in Bihar.
mm,
Advani is arrested, and the BJP withdraws support to the VP Singh government. So,
mm,
that's the time, if we just talk about the VHP and also the VHP BJP relations, then it becomes a very, very activist, no holds barred sort of politics that we have to, electorally, we have to make a dent, because there's a lot of
mm,
confidence also that over the years, our strength is increasing, that we sort of, we were nowhere, but socially we got so much of support. Slowly, our sort of strength is also increasing, even if not centrally, but in the province, in the states. It's an
mm,
unambiguous sort of taking up of a cause, despite the riots, despite the communal carnage which is happening throughout the country, that they now have to take it forward, since they have, taken up the agenda initially.
mm,
So, of course, the caste question, and sort of to counter the caste question, the religion question has to be played and overplayed, because it's just not a matter of ideological work. Now it's become
mm.
a work of power politics. So, if we have
Yeah.
to go ahead with power politics, some of these issues have to be taken up in no holds barred way. We have to go forward.
And do you think, when they announced a program of beginning some kind of symbolic, construction in December 1992, the way the build-up was there of both the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and the BJP leadership, you had all of them, Lal Krishna Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee,
Yes.
all out on various mini yatras, mobilizing support, taking, giving
Yeah.
the call for people to assemble in Ayodhya. Do you think the intention, planned or unplanned manner, the intention in the minds, maybe unspoken, was that the Babri Masjid should be demolished? Do you think it was already there in the mind? Or this happened just spontaneously, went out of hand?
I mean, the enthusiasm which they were getting at this stage. I mean, the enthusiasm which they were, the popular enthusiasm which they were
Mm.
seeing. I mean, generally, I think was encouraging them towards that. Though,
Demolition.
I cannot say with certainty whether that idea had
Definitely.
actually concretized in their minds. But the popular support which they were getting, and something which I think which tells us that this is the way they are going, and some ideas are concretizing in their minds, is that the VHP, from an earlier conference mode, that it held its World Hindu Conference in 66,
Yes.
then in 79, but then the conference mode completely goes out of the window. And what comes after that is a yatra mode. On everything, both the VHP and the
Yes.
BJP take out yatras, and there are several yatras which were taken out after
That's right.
1990, and after sort of 83 was the first one. But small yatras in
No, those
UP, in
yatras,
North
yatras
India,
carrying bricks
several
in
places.
89, it led to so
Yes,
many
yes,
very violent
yes.
riots,
Yes,
worst being in
while and very
Bhagalpur, Bihar.
and yes, but that also told them something, that if they carry on, they sort of move ahead with this the Ram Temple agenda, they are going to get success, even if
Mm.
not immediately, but over time. So that popularity of the Ram Temple issue was, one could actually see that it's building to something. It's building to something, some concrete ideas
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. But
within the
then
Sangh party.
but then immediately after the demolition, the BJP does not suffers electoral reverses. It is not able to come back to power in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh. Is there just about manages to retain power in Rajasthan, where it's more of Bhairav Singh Shekhawat being able to cobble together a majority, not the BJP really so much.
Yeah.
And finally, in that, for the 96 Lok Sabha elections, Advani takes a back seat and let the so-called Atal Bihari Vajpayee with a moderate image become the prime ministerial candidate. So what explains all that? That even after the demolition, it has to take a step backward.
I mean, we have to sort of, you know, uh, stitch together the politics, and again the economic factors, the politics
Hmm.
of the time, and what's happening within the Sangh Parivar. That that Ram Janmabhoomi, that 92 demolition is something which it's sort of the movement culminates. The point was that it was
Right.
something which was, I mean, the way mobs sort of conducted themselves, and all the leadership there landing in Ayodhya, and the mosque gets demolished. I think sort of it was a moment, sort of sort of a moment which had culminated into the achievement of that goal, which they sort of had sort of planned to move forward to. But
Right.
also in a way it was something unexpected, that now from here where do we go, like
Right.
immediately. And, it's there somewhere in the background. It always has been talked about. Sometimes it comes out, and during election times it comes out that we have to sort of, in the place of the mosque, we need a temple. We want to build a temple because that's where the deity Ram, our deity, was born.
Hmm.
It's his birthplace. But then like, actually, now what is the plan? How do you move forward? uh, like, the destructive plan has happened, but what about the constructive, the construction plan, so to speak?
Right.
So that's where I think they felt, they, in fact, I should say, they went into some sort of a vacuum of ideas for a brief moment.
Right.
And for the BHP, that was something which sort of uh, it was, I mean, it didn't know where to go from there after 92, after the mid
That's
1990s.
right.
And it's also an uncertain time for politics, that what's happening, that the Congress party is slowly losing power. The BJP is not able to gain power on its own. It has to move ahead with all the coalition partners, and and see to it. And that's also, and if you see the time between, that's Narsimha Rao period. I mean, when the mosque gets demolished, and the next election,
Gets
which happens,
demolished.
as you said, in 1996. Yes. And so how do we move forward?
And the objective becomes gaining political power. And building the temple is
Yes.
no longer the
So,
priority. And it is
yeah,
not a
yeah,
priority
absolutely.
till fairly a long period. And the BJP has its own
Yes.
trajectory at that time. And so the question
Yeah.
which arises now, of course, we know that much has happened, and that calls for a completely separate discussion as to how the BJP used that as a launch pad to embark on the kind of politics which was eventually espoused by Mr. Modi, and a much more aggressive kind of a Hindutva right from 2002 onwards, never wavering even for a day on that path, while the other leaders, including the stalwarts of the Ram temple, be it Mr. Vajpayee or even Advani, took a they felt that it wouldn't work out. So now the big question arises that the Vishwa Hindu Parishad really did not know. You said that did not know where to do, what to do. Is the role of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad now over? Is it now merely an organization, an affiliated organization, just in name?
The VHP, I mean, the goals which were there, the political goal of helping the BJP to power,
Right,
that goal has been
has been
achieved.
achieved.
The goal of, yes, has been achieved, putting the BJP in power. And the goal of the Ram temple has also been attained. And VHP was very closely, intricately tied to these two. So then, obviously, the question comes when it's the goals with which it's so closely tied, it's so closely associated. If these goals are
That's right.
achieved, they're attained, what happens to the organization itself? So, like now, when I look at the VHP statements, I look at the VHP writings and the activities, I see that a lot of it is happening to stay relevant. I mean, they have to stay
Right.
relevant, in times when all the goals are achieved. So how do they stay relevant? By whether by taking up issues or going back to the grassroots work, which initially they had started with, opening
Right.
medical
Right.
dispensaries and schools primary schools and health centers and
Away
things
from
like
the
that,
agitation part.
hostels. So yes, away from the agitation, because the agitation work is now over. I mean, its goals have been achieved. Or whether they take up the issues of the, what was also on the agenda, the Krishna Janmabhoomi, what they call as Krishna Janmabhoomi in Mathura,
Hmm.
and the Varanasi, issue of the Kashi Vishwanath temple. I mean, these were also on the agenda apart from the Ram Janmabhoomi. So,
That's right.
and like they were so involved in the Ram Janmabhoomi, that goal was achieved, that these two issues which were also on the agenda were neglected. So, whether they want to take them up, how would the government react to it? Whether
Yes.
the government would take it
It
forward?
will
What
have
would
to.
be the
It will have to
popular
work
uh,
in.
opinion?
It will have to work alongside
Yes,
the
it will have
government, or
to
rather getting clearance
stand
from
up.
the government.
Yes, yes. Because earlier the VHP worked when they were in the opposition and, constantly agitating. But when your associate is in power, how do you take forward your agendas?
Right.
That's the question. I mean, a lot of VHP activities, if you see now, the protests that they carry on various issues in various parts of the country, they are protests, they are anti-opposition protests.
Hmm.
Protests are usually carried out anti-government. If you see the usual nature of social protests
Or
and all, I mean,
anti-Muslim.
political protests. But yeah, but their protests are either anti-opposition or anti-Muslim. They're not anti-government. So, I mean, then how do they stay relevant? What do they do? So they have to keep picking on issues, and they have to match their program and go in tandem with what the government is doing. If they run
Right.
contrary, then it won't sort of help them in any way. So, I mean, this is what
Right.
is happening now. Though the VHP is active, it takes out its, publications and the magazines and everything is there, but it also is, I think, always on a lookout
Okay.
for issues to stay
So
relevant at this point of
So,
time.
I'm tempted to say that while the story of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad is not over yet, but it will have to find new ways to stay relevant, which I think calls for us to request you that you should now work towards a new edition of your book, so that you can take into account all that has happened, and especially that what do you do with the goal, with the objective having been accomplished? What are the paths for it to take? Well, it's really been wonderful to speak with you, Professor Manjari Katju, to understand something which has fundamentally altered uh, Indian politics. And what we were also talking that day, that this through this agitation, the idea of Hindutva, you actually said, has somehow seeped down deep into society. Maybe it was always there, but it has actually come out into the open with greater confidence. People can now actually say that this is our country, ours is the first priority, and the others, the people who do not have their Punya Bhumi here, they have to actually follow the diktats of what we lay down. The rules of the game will be set by us. So it's a different phase. Vishwa Hindu Parishad will possibly never be able to have that kind of role that it had, but nonetheless, it has played a very transformative role in that entire 80s and 90s, that period. So it's really been wonderful to speak with you, and you shed great light on this aspect of Indian politics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nilanjan. I enjoyed talking to you. It was sort of, a lot of things, even in fact, like one has done these studies,
Yes.
but one also tends to forget a lot of these. But,
Yes,
talking
because
to you brought up and, refreshed my sort of memory also of things which I had looked at long time ago. So I'm
uh,
really grateful to you. And it was really
thank,
nice talking to you.
thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
enjoyed the conversation.